Thank you very much. At this time, I would like to introduce you all to Mr. Terry Finger and Nathan Sanger of Bank of the West. They will be coming to discuss hemp banking, where it's been, where it's going, what to expect, etc. So please give a warm welcome to Terry and Nathan.
Do you guys do a duet?
He's the dancer. Well, thanks for the opportunity, first off, for us to be part of this and join you guys this afternoon. So our objective today will tell you a little bit about Bank of the West, and in particular, we spend time talking about the financial product service and financial services we can offer to you, the hemp industry, which obviously is new to the financial industry as well. So my name is Nathan. We're also joined by Andrea Feather in the back, right here from our Newton branch. Well, that's Andrea. So Bank of the West, I oversee our operations in the state of Kansas through South Central and Southwest Kansas. We have 13 locations scattered from Garden City to Winfield. And then we also have services in the northeastern part of the state. A little bit about Bank of the West. We are in 19 states, just over 500 branches. A $91 billion asset bank, so highly regulated, which you all can relate to, which actually puts us in a very good position to look at this industry with an opportunity and jump in, because we've got some of the background and support already in place to handle the regulatory side of it, so we're in a pretty good position to be able to meet your financial needs. So to speak to that more particularly about the services that we can offer, I will introduce Terry Finger.
Thank you, Nathan. First, I misunderstood. I thought I had an hour on the agenda, so I'm going to have to shave about 52 minutes off my presentation and give it all in this 10 minutes here to talk about opening operating accounts. But anyway, no, seriously, Bank of the West does have a great deal of experience in opening these types of accounts. Due to our history of doing it in other states, as Nathan mentioned, we are in a number of states, primarily west of here, which have been involved in this industry and the marijuana industry, but in this industry for a number of years. Our process in opening a operating account, checking account, it's a detailed process, which we must meet stringent requirements, guidelines due to the regulatory and compliance requirements that are set out. And plus, these guidelines are continually changing. As this industry evolves, our bank evolves with that. We have a compliance group. We have basically a dedicated group that processes the accounting information in order to open the account. And so they're on top of the rules and regs from the banking standpoint, from the federal standpoint regarding these types of accounts. So due to the compliance, and as Nathan indicated, banking being new to this industry, and the stringent guidelines that we must meet, it will take, to open an account, it will take up to 6 to 8 weeks to open it. We gather the information from our client, from our applicant, and present it to what we call our remote deposit committee, RDC, we like the acronyms, and they work with compliance and our legal group as well as our executive committee members in going through this. So, excuse me, see the types of eligible medical hemp businesses that we work with are, of course, the hemp seed providers, cultivators, handlers, processors, manufacturers of industrial hemp products, wholesalers, and retailers. And again, as I mentioned earlier, our guidelines are continually changing, and we keep abreast of those. But as of recently, about a week or so ago, one thing that kind of came up on the radar list of something that we cannot onboard at this time are e-commerce businesses selling ingestibles across state line. If they're doing it in a brick and mortar in-state, it's a business we can onboard for the account, but if they're selling across state line, we're not able to open those accounts at this time. So in opening the operating accounts and that approval process, like any checking account, there's a collection of information which you're generally accustomed to anyway, which of course requires the entity documents, articles of organization or incorporation, whichever type of entity you may have, the operating agreement or bylaws, and then we pull a certificate of good standing. Again, due to federal regs, we have to identify the ultimate beneficial owners of the entity, as well as the senior managing official. And then, of course, we need copies of the state licenses. No exceptions to that. We cannot open an account without a copy of the license issued from the state. Then as we open an account, we have to know specifically who will be the authorized signers. We have forms that we complete with that for getting their information, along with copies of driver's licenses or other approved forms of identification. We do complete online searches, background searches. And again, I know the state is already doing that. You're going to say, well, we've already been through that process through our license, and we understand. But we're going to do it also, again, because we are we're already regulated, but once we get into this industry, we're heavily regulated. And obviously, we have strict compliance rules and guidelines we have to abide by. As we do online searches, now, the individual or entity cannot be associated with any marijuana-related business. And that's part of our searches that we're doing to see if there's any association with a marijuana-related business. And if so, again, that's not eligible. That client's not eligible for onboarding or an account. If they had been associated in the past and are no longer, we'll still do those searches to document that association no longer exists. So again, it's very strict, and that the rules that we have to abide by. For cultivators growers that operation are located on a land lease from a third party or entity, we will require a copy of that lease. And again, these requirements are continuously changing. We've been in the process of accounts, which again takes several weeks. In the middle of that, we'll have a new requirement pop up, and all of a sudden we'll have another form. We love our forms, but we'll have another form to complete. So as we open up the bank accounts, along with that come with other banking products, our treasury management products, the online banking, which with that comes with your ACH modules and your wire modules, so you can do your own wires. We also have a service of electronic deposit service, so if you're a business that receives a lot of checks, you'll be able to deposit checks from your own office there, your own desk. And also, with any banking service, fraud is rampant that we see in banking, and we heavily encourage our fraud prevention tools that we have, which is Positive Pay. If there's fraud detected on an account, any type of account, checking account, and you do not have Positive Pay, we will generally require that account is closed and a new account opened. So if you're talking about closing an account and having to open another one, you're again looking at several weeks to be able to open an account. It shouldn't take as long, being compared to having a new account, but again, you're going to have that time delay. So I'm going to transition into lending, and that's going to be a pretty short presentation, which is no at this time. We've made an attempt on a few of these, but generally the entity is a new entity, which we consider a startup. Generally, we look at a minimum of 3 years experience in the industry, plus the industry is classified high risk. We have tried to attempt to do deals like a term loan, maybe on real estate or equipment, and mitigate it with other factors to offset the weaknesses or concerns of risk. and unfortunately, we weren't successful with our credit. It was kind of a process. At the end of the day, they came back and said, well, it's a new entity in a high-risk industry. So that's something that Nathan and I continue to monitor and watch and visit with our credit group. Basically, one way to be able to get a loan is cash secure. Basically, take out a certificate of deposit through Bank of the West. We have possession of that CD, and then we can lend against that. So, the evolution of banking in the hemp industry, as the industry evolves, so do we. Again, we're probably one of the few banks that do open accounts. Very few probably in this area. I don't know the others. But as I mentioned earlier, we have a full team not only of processing our account opening procedures, but also compliance and legal. Continuously watching this, watching what Congress is doing, and other regulatory agencies that we have to abide by. And like I said, it changes just this with e-commerce. That was just a new one, and it pops up. And as we look at onboarding new accounts, basically we contact our remote deposit team in compliance, basically say where we're at, what forms do we need, and we go from there. Safe Banking Act, basically, that's ensuring access to financial services, a secure and fair enforcement. It basically goes along with the evolution. We continue to watch and monitor that. As that evolves, and I think eventually, we'll see, the guidelines continue to open up, and we're under the strict guidance of our regulators, and that's what we follow. So that's kind of what I have right now. Basically, the line is that we can open checking accounts to hemp-related businesses. It is a process, and it does take some time, but we are here to be able to help them do that.
Seemed to, there we are. Hi. Just as a few days ago, this is a little many things. A few days ago, there was a consortium of governmental organizations, including FinCET and others, that consorted together with state agencies as well, giving endorsement to hemp on a federal basis beyond safe banking, which is more of a legislative process. This was the operations in the Federal Reserve that coordinated federal and state, and that looked like a real open door. You guys excited about that? Do you see that as being a potential accelerant to your process?
Yeah, we are excited about that. We're excited about any time that there's advancement in this industry, because we want to be able to help you in your business, and we're in, that's our business, to be able to help you with your business. We are excited about that. We want to be able to see those rules, regs, and guidelines continue to evolve and expand to allow more opportunities there for you.
Christian, can I have you back, please? If I walk in with a shopping bag with $30,000 cash in it to deposit in the bank, is there any problem with that?
I'm going to make them address that one.
Never any problem with taking cash in the bank, right?
Just want to make sure. I just want to make sure, because that does happen in this industry. I would like to make a comment for Bank of the West. We've looked for the last 3 years actively throughout Oregon and now Kansas for banking services, and it is not easy. Credit unions have been the main driver in the industry. But credit unions tend to have regional access only. So if you're in a credit union in the northeast part of the state, you're in the south part, you may not have access. We do bank with credit unions in Oregon. But Bank of the West is absolutely the leader in large-scale banking to be able to provide the basic account services and be able to run your credit card services through. All of those things with traditional lending, and the most important thing in this industry a lot of times is wiring. ACH or bank wires. And having that open with a federal bank at the scale of Bank of the West is a major opportunity. And these guys are a little humble in their presentation, but they're at the absolute forefront on the national basis of large-scale banking services. And we wanted to bring them to you so you get to hear from them. Any questions on banking? Thanks.
Thank you very much, Terry and Nathan. Quick question for you guys. If folks were interested in learning more, who do they contact? Where do they go for additional information?
They can contact either Nathan or I or Andrea, anybody at the branch. I can leave some cards on the back table here.
Which branch is that?
Andrea's in Newton, but we have branches throughout Wichita, South Central Kansas, into Western Kansas.
So we'll leave a couple business cards for these gentlemen up front. If you have any more questions, feel free to grab a card and follow up later on.